Okay, so I'm back with another review slash rant. Today it's a positive one actually, because I'm aware that most of my rants so far have been very negative, and I don't like to think of myself as that much of a negative person. I just suppose that a lot of ones, particularly around gaming and games, have been very negative skewing. So it's nice to have one that's not so negative, which is um, my the first ever pilot episode I just watched of the Penguin, which is the new DC TV show thing, sort of a spin off from the Matt Reeves Batman film. And I really, really liked this thing. I thought it was, to be honest, brilliant. Like, I really have a hard time finding a fault with it. And it's interesting because I'm a sucker for these kind of stories. I love my mafia films, I love my gangster films, and TV shows like Sopranos and stuff. I absolutely adored it. So it's definitely obviously aimed at me in a way that maybe something like Agatha All Along isn't aimed at me. It has got me thinking a little bit about this sort of, because I always think, well, I just sort of take it at face value, but there are going to be certain things that are sort of you're unconsciously biased with that you're not aware of. So I'm unconsciously probably going to enjoy the Penguin a lot more than say Agatha All Along, and someone else might feel opposite. So it's just my view and just how I feel about it, but I felt that this, and I don't want to start comparing it to Agatha All Along, to two totally different things anyway. But I just can say that whereas I thought that was pretty good, I think this is really good, and I do think that Colin Farrell is excellent as this version of the Penguin. And the Penguin's an unusual character because I'm a huge, huge Batman fan, and I always have been. And Penguin was always my least favourite villains of Batman for a long time. I thought he was just kind of a little bit lame. Even the animated series, I wasn't a big fan of him, so I'm not like a huge Penguin fan per se. But over years, they've sort of reinvigorated the character and changed the character quite a bit, particularly in things like the Batman Arkham games. And I've actually grown to really think there's actually quite a lot to him, and there's quite a lot of depth that they could mine there with him as a character. And exactly that's what we did with the Batman. Like, one of the great things about the Batman was the Penguin in that film. Not least because Colin Farrell's character provided a little bit of humour, but also he was just a really good version of Penguin. I was like, I really like this older version of him, where we're immediately getting an old kind of gangster version of Penguin, and this Penguin show has just taken that like to the next level. Like, straight away, I think the opening scene, just like the opening scene of the Batman, was extremely powerful. I mean, it picks up right from where the Batman leaves off, which I think is really good for continuity, and the show looks flipping beautiful, if I'm honest. Like, it looks like a movie. It looks just like the Batman movie in terms of cinematography. Every shot of it I thought looked amazing detail. Gotham City, which I always loved about the Matt Reeves Batman, looks so good in this. So yeah, overall it's just a huge win. I absolutely loved Colin Farrell as Penguin. I think he's added so much to that character. I think it's a bit like Hugh Jackman with Wolverine. He's added so much there, and I overall just loved it. Lighting was beautiful, acting was first class, fantastic. Really interesting characters that have been brought in. And the sort of heart of the first episode is this weird relationship that Oz has with this kid who is initially like trying to steal hubcaps off his car, and then he catches him, and then he sort of makes him his accomplice, and there's a weird like dynamic going on between the two of them. But that sort of, by the end of the episode, becomes a real, like, that's the heart of it, which is a really weird twisted heart for it to have. And it's a weird situation to be in, because you shouldn't really want a character like this to succeed. He's a villain, he's a mobster, he's not a good character. But you see more sides of him, you see all these different sides of him, and you do find yourself sadly rooting for him a little bit. Like, you do find yourself wanting him to sort of succeed, if only because all the other people who he's engaging with are even worse than him. But again, it doesn't mean that he should really succeed, because from a point of view of like, him ruling Gotham, which is what he obviously wants, that's not really going to be good for anybody. But it's great when a show can sort of make you care about a character you shouldn't really care about, and I think Colin Farrell did it with his character, and the writing was really good. So yeah, I sort of want to see the Penguin succeed in a weird way, which he shouldn't do, because he is a villain. And I even said a similar thing with Agatha All Along. I was saying, well, why would I want to see her become really powerful again? Well, why do I want to see Penguin become, rule the city of Gotham? I wouldn't really, but there's something in the way that this is done And again, I don't know if this is because of a gender bias thing, like I'm more relating to this than I would like for along. I really don't know that I find this a much more compelling story that I really do want to see succeed. And I don't know, it does make me wonder. So I'll be interested to see how both these shows develop. And like I said, they are totally different. I'm not going to start comparing them week to week, but like into this across the board was just stunning first episode of TV. I don't think even if you're not a fan of the source material, you don't know anything about DC, I think you'd say that this is a stellar first episode of a sort of a really good crime drama. And again, you could watch it on that level as well. It is a spin-off from the Batman, but I think it stands on its own 2 feet extremely well, sets up really interesting things, but it's also a very good, comprehensive first episode where a lot of stuff is happening, and it's moving at quite a pace. Like, it's not just going dead slow, slowly introducing every single thing. It's not kind of, it reminds me similar to the first episode of Sopranos, where it's quite a breakneck pace. Actually, there's loads of different things going on, and you're sort of getting into this gangster's headspace. And I think what it is I like stories about the kind of the underdog gangster. So not the ones at the very, very top or the ones at the very, very bottom, but the ones who were sort of in that middle place. Like the guys were sort of street level gangsters. They're never right at the top. They're never right at the bottom. And again, that's sort of where he is. He's in that middle place where he's still being pushed around by people at the top. He's doing their dirty work for him because they don't want to do it. But he's he's elevated higher than the ones at the very bottom. But he's in that middle place, like I said, and I think those are the gangsters I always find the most interesting. I think Goodfellas again is those sort of level gangsters where they're not like made guys, they're not like the mafia bosses. They are in the middle of it all, and because they're in the middle, they get away with doing much more extreme stuff. Like the violence in this thing doesn't let up either. It's very, very gory when it needs to be, and it's not beyond stripping that character right down to literally his, uh, what I won't spoil it, but he gets brought down pretty quick, and I think that is important. I think it's always important to eat, however powerful the character is. I always think it's really important to take that power away from him as soon as you can, because a powerful character who can always do everything perfectly doesn't really interest me. Like that's not compelling. What's compelling is to see a character that, in certain situations, you think, "What the heck is this character going to do? How are we going to get out of this?" The classic one I always think of is Clint Eastwood in um, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, right? Like he starts off the film this super cool guy, and he's there, and he comes on as this really cool, commanding presence. And 20 minutes into the film, he's stumbling through the desert. He's not got a coat anymore. He's completely weather beaten. He's on the verge of dying like half an hour into the movie. And I like that, again, that sort of thing. If you have a sort of semi-powerful character, you can drag them right down and make them vulnerable and make them powerless, and then go, well, how will they work their ways out of this predicament now? Because they don't have all the sort of powers in the world to do that with. They have to be resourceful, and that's what makes good TV or good drama in general. I think if you have a character who's super powered and is so overpowered, there's no interest in that for me. I'm just like, oh, okay, so whatever. I really like the sort of more street level type things. So anyway, getting off the point, but the point is, it's interesting how it handles his character in various different situations throughout this first episode. Again, I don't want to get into any spoilers with it because it's not something I would want to spoil. But I will say the opening scene really sets the stage well for what the rest of this episode is, and I felt that it never let up. I think every scene was good. It didn't feel too long. It didn't feel too short. And I'd happily sit and watch the second episode right now if I could, but obviously I'm going to have to wait. So yeah, just a massive win all round. I think it's an excellent example of TV, and I can't remember the last time I watched a pilot that was this strong for anything. I'm not even talking about. I think I'd have to go way back to Mad Men, the first episode of Mad Men that I absolutely adored at the time, for a pilot that I loved as much as this one. And there has been quite a lot of good pilot episodes I've seen here and there, don't get me wrong, but this one is just a cut above everything I've really seen for a long time. Also, the Peacemaker first episode was pretty good too, but this is even better than Peacemaker, in my opinion. So, while I'm not a big fan of a lot of what's coming down the pipe with DC, like I don't really care about this universe James Gunn's building, it doesn't interest me, but the Matt Reeves Batman side of it does interest me. So I am hoping that this is successful and we get more things in this world, because I really like it, and I wouldn't like it just to sort of fizzle and die, because it's the only DC thing that I really care about at the minute. But we'll see. The James Gunn stuff might surprise me. You can't really tell till you see it, but all I'm saying is from what I've seen and the little tidbits I'm hearing and the bits I've seen, it doesn't interest me so far. And of course, I haven't even seen a trailer for anything yet, so I have to wait and see properly to see. But even then, it won't really know until we get to the film. So yeah, I'm going to end this now because I'm not going to go on much longer because I don't want to spoil it. I will just say that I think that if you're a fan of Batman or not, just a fan of good TV, watch Penguin and give it a go. You might be pleasantly surprised how good it is. I certainly was.